Yeah, it's the Wednesday edition of Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. Good to be with you. Lots to get into as we are just a week away, well, 8 days away, from the beginning of the 2024 NFL Draft. Looking forward to that, man. Like, I know we talked about it a little bit on Monday, but I am fully in on draft prep now. I'm officially, diving in on prospects. I'm getting into the weeds on who the Packers could potentially get at 25, maybe some second and third round sneaky picks that the Packers could go for. And I mentioned this on Monday, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. We'll be joined by Packers offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins. I want to talk a little draft. I also want to talk about the Packers wide receiver room because I saw something earlier today that sparked a thought that we'll get into after Elgton Jenkins. But I just think this is a really cool position for the Green Bay Packers. When you're not going into a draft season, when you're not going into an NFL draft with the mindset of, this is who we need or this is what we need, right? You look to the neighbors of the South. You look at the Chicago Bears and you think about how their fan base is fully dependent on this year's NFL draft in order to discover whether or not they have it, right? Caleb Williams in that 9th overall pick, probably like a Romo Dunze type from Washington, wide receiver, to help bolster that offense and help them compete in a really tough division with Detroit and Green Bay and Minnesota. Whereas for Green Bay, the expectations are back to being high, unlike a year ago, where you go into the draft and you're just looking for maybe one starter and then some depth pieces. And I think that's just an awesome position to be back in after a year where, you were really hoping for a home run hit in last year's draft. And luckily you got that at a lot of positions when you look at the tight ends and you look at Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. So this is a cool position to be in where it's okay, maybe you get a depth offensive line piece in the first round. Or maybe you get a starting safety or a starting linebacker if Cooper DeJean falls for safety or cornerback depth. So it's a fun position to be in, to be back in, knowing that the draft is not the number one day on your football calendar this year. The number one day on your football calendar this year, calendar year, is week 1 in Brazil against the Philadelphia Eagles. So looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into that. Let's start with last night, though. The NBA playoffs began last night with the play-in game. I believe this is year 3 of the play-in tournament. A couple of good games in the Western Conference. You have the Lakers beating the Pelicans in the 7-8 game. The Lakers get the 7 seed. They will play the defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets in the first round. Now, that game was fun, man. New Orleans goes on a 9-0 run late. Zion scores 40, and then he leaves the game with 3 minutes left, doesn't return. Lakers seal it. They win the game. And I feel like something that's flown under the radar for those of you that are NBA fans is how good Zion Williamson was this year, right? He dealt with the injuries. He had so much hype around him when he was drafted out of Duke. He's had a terrific year, and he shows that on a huge stage last night. Scores 40, gets hurt with an undefined injury. I haven't seen any updates on it. I'm sure there has been. Leaves the game. LeBron and the Lakers ultimately pull it out. But now the Pelicans will have the opportunity to play the Kings as the Sacramento Kings beat the Golden State Warriors last night. I did not watch this game, but I mean, whoa. To go from legitimate dynasty to losing in the 9-10 play-in game is a pretty ugly optic for the Golden State Warriors. That's not good. That's not good. So Warriors lose. We will not see them in this year's rendition of the actual playoffs, which start this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. I just didn't see that fall from grace happening that quickly. And obviously they struggled all year long, and they were, I think they were technically the 9 seed or the 10 seed entering that game. I don't remember I didn't see where that game was played. Did you know, Hunter, off the top of your head, if that game was in Sacramento or in San Francisco?
I don't. I was listening to it on the radio on my drive back from the Brewer game, and I wasn't fully paying attention with all the rain and that. I tried to look up though Zion's injury to see what it was. And all I can see is videos of his, as everyone on Twitter is calling her, his baby mama making fun of his injury.
Yeah, dude, she's wild on Twitter. That's been a thing for a while.
I've just discovered this now, so this is a whole new thing for me in the last 30 seconds. So this might have just opened up a new rabbit hole for me on the internet.
I want you to go down that rabbit hole, and we could do a what Hunter learned about Zion Williamson's baby mama later in the show.
Okay.
So you after Elgton Jenkins, which is a pre-recorded conversation with Elgton, I want to do what Hunter learned, and then we'll get back to the Packers.
Okay.
I want you to learn whatever you can about Zion Williamson's baby mama and her on Twitter, because I remember last year a lot of things popped up with her, because I think she had another thing going on with another NBA player who she never defined. Yeah, like this rabbit hole goes deep, so get into it, and we can dive into it a little bit later. But yeah, play-in thoughts, really fun. I love this concept. I think it's a really fun concept. Like I said, I think this is year 3 of it. By the way, Golden State at Sacramento, so what I thought was correct. And ultimately Golden State falls to Sacramento last night in a not very close game, 118-94. So apparently I didn't miss much. But it just makes you wonder, right? Like Steph, Clay, Draymond, that's been the trio forever. There was, of course, a period with Andre Iguodala, and there was a period with Kevin Durant where they were winning championships or at least competing for them. For them not even to be in the playoff field is pretty absurd. So I'm curious to see what happens with Golden State over the course of the next couple months and into next season. But Sacramento and New Orleans will play in the Western Conference for that remaining playoff spot. The Eastern Conference play-in is tonight. It's just really not that interesting to me. I mean, Miami-Philly is, but I hope those are the 2 teams that get in, because I think as low seeds, those are really appealing matchups. The winner of Miami-Philly tonight gets the New York Knicks, and then the loser will play the winner of Atlanta-Chicago, which is the second game tonight, Hawks-Bulls, and the winner of that game later this week will ultimately play the number 1 seeded Boston Celtics and probably get swept. So, yeah, depending on if Philly gets in there, because I think Philly can be sneaky good with Joel Embiid back in the mix. But nonetheless, play-in games were fun, but that's that. Hunter, I need you to pause from your rabbit hole, because we need to go down a different Tiny Hands rabbit hole, and that would be this. So before we get into any of your observations or any of the things that happened to you at the Brewer game last night as they fall, I think it was 6-4 to the Padres?
6-3.
6-3, okay. They did score an extra run, that's right. They scored 4 runs the other night. 6-3 last night. They lose to the Padres at AmFam Field. That's the 3rd loss in a row. I don't want to talk about that. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. Yesterday was your 3-year wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. Your mic's not on. You might want to turn that on.
I thought I had it on.
Yeah, it's okay. So happy anniversary. You spent it at the ballpark.
Yes.
So you went to a baseball game with your wife for your anniversary.
Yep.
So I assume she's a big baseball fan.
She enjoys baseball. She's fine with it. I think she more enjoys, like, we go and have the different ballpark foods and things like that, and it's just kind of a chance for us to hang out. This is the 2nd time of our 3 anniversaries that we have spent them at AmFam Field, so it's kind of become our thing. So 2 of your 3 anniversaries. Yes. Our 1st and our 3rd now.
Have been okay. I like that.
Yeah.
So last night you spend your anniversary at the ballpark. How was it, first off?
It was good. As much as I like opening day and the crowded opening day, those weeknight games where there's just over 20,000 people, those are a lot of fun. There's plenty of room. You're not crowded in.
Yeah, those are fun. I agree.
I'm a fan of the weeknight baseball games. So it was a good time. I lost my mind at Angel Hernandez.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
He called a balk in the first inning?
Yes, on Wade Miley, and it wasn't a balk. Like, you get 45 degrees as a pitcher to be able to turn to the base. And he was well within that. He raised his knee, turned to throw to first, got the runner at first, and the first base umpire didn't call a balk. He called the out. So that's his call to make, and he makes the call. Angel Hernandez is like, no, fam. I'm calling a balk on this.
Fam.
And he's getting the base. It was insane. Like, home plate umpires don't make that call. That doesn't happen. And then you have everything else with the most inconsistent strike zone of any home plate umpire in baseball. And I was livid the entire game. Because it wasn't even like it was just bad where the Padres were getting advantages, because obviously they scored 6 runs, like, it is what it is. But it's the fact that he was inconsistent both ways the entire time, so the hitters could never figure out, like, okay, is it just going to be a high strike zone? Is he calling things a little lower? Like, that's something that umpires do. That happens. It's fine. But he was all over the place the entire game. Guys are like backing away from the plate as pitches are coming because they're so inside, and then he's just calling a strike. I'm like, this is wild. Like, I started laughing at the end of the game because it was so ridiculously bad.
You knew you were going to get a show, though. I think that's the fun part
I was a little
about
excited about
Angel. But yeah, he's been a bad ump for years. So, well, I'm glad you had a good time. Otherwise,
I did.
We got more.
Oh yeah. It was a night. One last thing on Angel. You know you're really bad at your job when you're the argument to bring in robots to replace your profession.
That's a great point.
Like, that's how bad he is as an umpire.
It's a great point.
It's so bad. I had 3 different people in our section answer FaceTime calls in the middle of the game.
You have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Why?
You're at a game. Like, what are you doing?
I don't have an issue with that.
It's just weird.
Well, what if they want to share the experience with somebody? Like, I was at a concert 2 weeks ago, and when I didn't really know the band I was seeing. I assume when the person that got the phone call's favorite song came on, but this lady right in front of me FaceTimed her friend and held the phone up and FaceTimed her through the entirety of the song. But I felt bad for the girl on the other end because I don't really know how you react. Do you sing along? Do you just? She kept going like this, like hand over the face, and I wasn't really sure how I felt about that. But at a baseball game, I don't really mind it. I mean, baseball games are now they're faster, but you could have a quick 3-minute call in the ballpark.
I didn't like it. It was weird. And it was the fact that multiple people did it. Like, I've never seen that before.
No, I mean, that's just 2024, though. I think FaceTime is over the phone call these days in terms of forms of phone communication. So, okay.
Yeah.
It's an interesting pet peeve. Anything else?
Well, it wasn't a pet peeve. It was just a weird observation. Like, one person, okay. 2 people, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. 3 people, all within the same section, all different groups of people. That was just crazy to me.
Yeah.
On the way home, there was some, if people didn't notice.
Real quick, from Joseph in the YouTube chat. Was the roof open last night?
No, it was definitely closed with the rain.
It was raining. That's right.
Yeah. So with all of the rain and the thunderstorms, my wife and I are driving back. We took her car over to Milwaukee. We're coming back on 94, and there's really bright flash of lightning. And all of a sudden, I see like this orange thing come into our lane, and I hit it because I had no time to react to this.
Orange thing. Was it a cone?
No, it definitely was not a cone because there was fur in like the hubcap
So it was
of
an
her.
animal.
Yes. Too big to be a cat. Too small to be like an adult deer. But I feel like it's also too early to be like a fawn.
Do you know when fawns are born?
I don't, but this just feels early to me. I don't know why. It just does.
I totaled my car by hitting a deer in April.
Yeah, but it was an
Years ago,
adult
but-
deer. Like a fawn,
true.
like that's not doing anything.
No, was it a fox?
Maybe. I have a feeling it was like a fox or a coyote. Maybe somehow if it was a cat, it was a big cat. So I had to pull over on, basically Garfield. Had to pull over on 94 in the dark in the rain to check on the car. So Sarah was very concerned about that. So I had to have just stay buckled in. Stay here. I'm just going to check to make sure we can drive this home. Because I'm like, I have no idea what just happened to the car. I'm not going back the 100 yards.
I bet you were a wreck.
No, I was just like, I don't know what just happened. We might have to call a tow truck now at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night on 94. But luckily, everything was okay.
You were still driving, so you didn't need to call a tow truck if you pulled over.
Yeah. You can make it like a couple of feet, but I don't know if something is cracked on the front. I don't know if I popped the tire or not.
Yeah, that part's
so yeah, I had no idea what was happening. It was just with all of it together, it was just a crazy night for me in Milwaukee.
It's crazy, man. Crazy night for me in Milwaukee. I killed a cat and I saw some people FaceTime.
Okay.
Crazy night.
Okay. For me, who I usually go home and I make dinner and then I play video games until I fall asleep.
Yeah,
me going out on a weeknight to go to a baseball game, screaming at another grown man, telling him that he's a bum and he needs to find a new job.
How does your wife deal with you at sporting events? Because you are a big sports fan and you are very vocal. We've been through a football playoff game when our teams play each other on this show. Packers, by the way, beat your Cowboys.
Yeah.
You did not handle that well.
No. She was not happy with me.
She was mad at you.
Yeah.
On your anniversary, Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay, now this needs to be a moment of reflection for you.
Yeah.
It's your anniversary.
Yeah.
Angel Hernandez is not your top priority. But
I know.
You want to celebrate anniversary number 4. I recommend we do a little bit of year reflection in year 3.
Yeah,
By no means have I ever been married.
I just, in the moment, and I was also an old-fashioned and I don't drink a lot, so I was feeling a little loose. I was just like, you know what? I got to let this man know from level 3 of AmFam Field that I despise him, and I think he needs to find a new avenue of employment, and I had to let him know after that balk call.
It ain't going to work. You
know,
yelling from the 300s.
It made me feel a lot better in the moment until I turned and I saw her face and realized, that wasn't a good idea.
So what was the discussion with her after that?
She doesn't want people to think that I'm an angry person. So it's like her caring about how people perceive me.
Has she watched the show before?
A couple of times.
I imagine people think you're angry if they watch the show. You're kind of an angry sports fan.
I'm not an angry sports fan, I feel like. I feel like I expect the worst. And it usually comes true when it's my Cowboys. So that's...
All right, I'm going to ask you
a
question. You don't have to answer it.
Okay.
Do you feel that way about your marriage?
What?
Like you think of the worst when you're thinking about sports.
No.
You don't think that way with your marriage.
No.
Right? Okay, good. Okay, I'm just making sure. Just making sure.
My wife is a saint. She's the toughest, most incredible person I know. She's my best friend. That's why I don't do much of anything other than like hang out with her.
Okay.
So like that's I never think of that.
But I hope rather than this is the first time you're saying this in the last 24 hours, after you yelled at Angel Hernandez, you sat down and you said, "Hey, babe, you're the strongest, most wonderful person I know. You're my best friend."
No, I did say I'm sorry. Like, I know. And then, I mean, I at least, like, other than booing Manny Machado, I didn't do anything. I didn't yell anything else at Angel Hernandez or, like, do anything else. But Manny Machado's trash, and he's a dirty player, so I had to boo him.
I agree with that. All right, there's your baseball talk for the day. Brewers lose 3 in a row. We'll see if they can right the ship. Right now they're playing, actually, at AmFam Field against the Padres. I don't have it on. I forgot to turn it on. And I can't really do that in the middle of the show, so I'll try to get a score update here for you in a second. But I want to go back to something I led the show with, and that is this is a cool time to be a Packers fan. Because last year you dealt with the uncertainty of, okay, what's flipping the chapter to the Jordan Love era going to be like? Will it work? Right? I mean, I think that was the main question we'll have. Was Jordan Love going to be the guy? And I think throughout the tenure of the second half of the season and into the postseason, it became very clear that Jordan Love is the quarterback of the future for the Green Bay Packers. 10 years from now, I don't know. But for the next several, I think you're comfortable with Jordan Love being your guy. You won a playoff game in a year where there was all sorts of uncertainty with the youth movement and a first-year starting quarterback. Now it's go time. You make the change at defensive coordinator. You have a ton of investment in the defensive side of the football. This could be a year where the Packers go offense. Now, it wouldn't be wide receiver, running back, tight end, or quarterback, we assume, in the first round. But there's a likely chance it's somewhere on the offensive line to help. In the immediate, the offense continue to hum like they were at the end of last season. Defensively, like I mentioned, you bring in Jeff Hafley, a proven defensive coach, not necessarily a proven defensive coordinator at both the NFL and collegiate levels. And you have high expectations that he can elevate all of this investment to a top 12, 10 defense, and that can really give you a heck of a shot come January and February in the NFL playoffs. So now it's not necessarily, oh boy, what is this top 10 pick going to do for us when we win 6 games? It is now, oh boy, what can Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Packers, do in the NFL draft to help us this year, but also say, hey, for the next couple of years while you have a lot of these guys on rookie deals, how can you turn that into a championship recipe? And that includes this year. The championship window for the Green Bay Packers, make no mistake about it, is open. Just getting to a Super Bowl would be a huge win for the Packers, let alone winning one. Obviously, only one team gets to do that. But to get over the hump of the NFC Championship game, which after 2010, Aaron Rodgers and company were not able to get over that hump. They were never able to get back to the dance of the Super Bowl. Jordan Love certainly has the pieces around him, at least we think, offensively, to make this a top 10, if not a top 8, top 5 offense. Can you turn this into a top 10 defense, and can you turn into a powerhouse in the NFC for years to come? That's the question, and that road starts next week in the NFL Draft. I've convinced myself, I've said this for the last week, that the Packers will go O-line early. They'll address some defensive holes on day 2. I think that's the route they go. But there's only a few pieces that really need to be invested in. Offensive line is one. Linebackers one. Safety and cornerback depth is obviously one. And I think a running back, a complementary back, is another one. Will Goody move? I don't know. I don't know if he moves up in the draft, at least in the first round. But 11 picks can cause a lot of movement. And I think this draft is going to be the most important, maybe aside from last year's, for Brian Gutekunst. So I'm locked in. I'm very excited to see what comes from the NFL Draft kicking off next week. All right, let's move to a former draft pick of the Green Bay Packers in the second round several years ago, a guy that's a veteran on this very young team. Elgton Jenkins, I had the opportunity to catch up with the Packers starting left guard last week at the Packers tailgate tour stop in Sun Prairie. We cover a ton of ground in about 6 minutes, so looking forward to you listening to Elgton Jenkins, the Packers left guard, on all things green and gold right now on Mr. Irrelevant.
All right, here with Packers star offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins on the Packers tailgate tour. Elgton, how's it been so far? 1 day left.
Man, I've been enjoying it, man. Just being able to interact with the fans all around Wisconsin. It's been special just to see the deep love they got for the organization.
I mean, you're a veteran at this point, bro. I know that's crazy to say, but this team is so young. You're a veteran at this point. What's it been like as you see this youth revolution for this team over the course of the last year?
Yeah, it's been special, man. Our coaches around the building, we always say it's going to be a roller coaster sometimes. And as we know, last year it was a roller coaster. At the tail end of the year, we got up on that roller coaster, but we didn't finish though. But it's been special being able to see the young guys grow, grow into the players that they can be able to be. And it's a lot more they got that they can do, but it's been real special.
How about Jordan? I mean, the roller coaster, the term you just used, right? I mean, it was kind of a tough October for him, but into November, December, January, his rise to stardom has been really fun to watch, and you've got a front row seat.
Yeah, for sure. Like on the back end, he been playing with so much confidence. He was playing with so much confidence, doing what Jordan is capable of doing. So he got a bright future ahead of him. He's gonna be a very special player in this league, and I'm just ready to see everything he can accomplish.
When did you realize what his abilities were? Was it year 1, year 2, or did you not really know what he was capable of until he was out there doing it?
You can see every year that he was growing. From first year to second year to third year, and then when it was his time to play, you can be like, okay, he ready. He was making plays, as we can see when he came in the Eagles game, making throws, going through the reads, and looking like an NFL quarterback. So I think that game right there told me and solidified that, okay, he ready to be that guy, because he already had the mentality to do those things. So it was special to see that it just came all full circle for him.
Fun addition for your offense this offseason. Josh Jacobs, the new running back in town. Have you been able to connect with him? How excited are you for him to join your offense?
Man, I'm very excited. The things he was able to accomplish at Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm very excited to see him run the ball, give him some holes. He run with so much power behind him, breakout speed and things like that. So I feel like he's going to bring a dynamic to our offense, another dynamic to our offense.
And obviously the flip side of that, I know we were just talking about it, Aaron Jones, a longtime teammate of yours. Sucks to see him leave, and really sucks to see him go to a division rival. It's the business part of this, right?
Yeah, it is. I love 3-3, man. From the first day I came in there, I was having Thanksgiving meals with him, just hanging out with him and things like that. So it's always hard to see guys go, but that's the business of the league. I've seen there many times with other players that I thought that'll never leave Green Bay, and they did. So he definitely a guy that we're gonna miss, and just like they say, I'm hoping him success in his future for sure.
I mentioned you're kind of one of the veterans on this team now, man. I mean, what's it like with a guy like Sheed plugging in next to you last year at left tackle? How are you helping coach him up and bringing him to that next level to really help you guys succeed on the O-line?
Yeah, just giving him all the pointers and the small things that I feel like could have helped him in his game throughout the season, and he soaked it all in. And when you see it just all come together, it make me proud. I feel like a big brother to him. So just being able to see him succeed, and just like everybody else, the future success with him is high. I'm ready to see that as well.
So one of the fun parts about this tailgate tour is the fans get to ask you questions. Did I just hear you say Enough cheese for you is just 2 grilled cheeses? Is that what you just said?
I can't do too much cheese, man, you know, because my stomach, you know. So, like I say, you know, people can get constipated and things like that, man. So I can't do too much. I can eat a little bit here and there, but I'm just not Wisconsin crazy with the cheese, honestly.
So the other half of Wisconsin is beer, and I know during the season you're probably not drinking a whole lot, but like off season you enjoy a good beer, a couple of them. Like, how's that work?
Yeah, I give me a good Modelo every now and then. You know, I think college kind of burnt me out with the beers or whatever, but
You went to a drinking school.
yeah, I did. You know, we was in the country in Mississippi, so the only thing you're doing is drinking and playing football. But I drink a Modelo every now and then, you know, just to chill and relax.
Did you see what Montez Sweat said this week with Chris Long? He said he's not losing to the Packers again.
Yeah, that's just the personality of the Sweat. But like, you know, right now I'm 10-0 with the Bears, man, and I can't just pay too much attention to what he got to say. We still got to go out there and bump it up on Sunday. So the Bears, they bringing in good pieces, and I feel like they'll be a good football team next year. But you know, we still got to put them pads on Sunday and get the popping.
Last couple of things for you, Elton. Appreciate the time. On the other side of the ball, Jeff Hafley comes in as the new defensive coordinator. I'm not sure how much interaction you've had with him, but obviously there's some energy on that other side of the ball now. What do you think his arrival will bring?
Man, I feel like it's gonna bring a lot of energy. When we first hired him, I had went and like looked at him, you know, just to see his energy and just to see like the defense he run, what I'm gonna face in practice, you know, things like that. Just being a player of the game, but I feel like he gonna bring so much energy to the defense. Them guys being able to shoot upfield. When you got guys like Kenny Clark, Devontae, on the end, you got Rashawn, Luke, Preston, JJ. Man, there's so many guys on that defense, and then with our cornerbacks, I might be biased, man, but I just feel like we can have one of the top defenses in the league, and they're just only gonna get us closer to where we want to be.
Last thing for you. On the bus, anybody annoying you? I mean, what's it been like spending it with some of the old heads that aren't playing anymore and some of your teammates? What's the bus experience been like for you guys?
I feel like the bus is in the perfect spot, honestly, though, because you know you got Mike D. You know, Mike D like to talk. Then you got Bull to say some things, but he ain't gonna say too much. Then you got me and She. We gonna talk, chop it up, probably, you know, play a couple games. Then you got KC. He ain't, you know, my guy. He ain't gonna say too much, but he gonna say it when he need to say something. He gonna say it. So I feel like the bus is in the right spot right now. We having fun though. We enjoying it. Then we got Mark. You know, Mark or Gil laughing there and now and then. But the bus is real good though, for sure.
Elgton Jenkins, appreciate you, my guy.
There you have it. Elgton Jenkins, Packers offensive lineman. A couple of minutes with him at the Packers tailgate tour last week. Couple of things I liked from that conversation. Number one, says, you know, he goes to the point of, hey, we still got to put the pads on and go to war against the Chicago Bears. But he was pretty quick to point out he's never lost to the Chicago Bears, 10-0 against the Bears. When I asked him about Jeff Hafley, he kind of laughed. I imagine that might be in reference to the previous guy that was in that position.
Probably.
Yeah. So I like that. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation with Elgton Jenkins. You know, I asked him off the record, which I'm now going to bring on the record, like, does he pay attention to some of the changes or, like, conversation around changes of position? He's like, dude, I just want to play ball. You know, and I imagine that's the attitude of a lot of those guys, because I saw Joseph chime in on YouTube, and we talked about it earlier in the week with maybe moving Zach Tom to center or whatever. Like, those guys are going to do whatever they're asked, I would assume, right? Especially guys that want to win, and they understand the championship window for them is open, as I said earlier. I mean, the championship window, without a doubt, is open for the Green Bay Packers. Now, does that mean I'm going to sit here and tell you they're going to win the Super Bowl this year? Absolutely not. Do I think they're in the mix? Yes. But it's obviously very dependent on several things, which includes Jordan Love's ability. I believe in Jordan Love, and I don't want you to take it in a way where I'm saying I don't believe in Jordan Love, because I absolutely do. But he does need to prove that last year, the end of last year, wasn't a fluke. I'm not going to sit here and give you the bananas statement that I saw Kyle Wallace give on Kyle Bruston-Nortman weekdays 2 to 5 on ESPN Wisconsin yesterday, by saying this is Jordan Love's state now over Giannis's. Right? Giannis won a championship. Giannis has won 2 MVPs. Jordan Love has had 10 good games, maybe 11. I need Jordan Love to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, and I think he's capable of that, and I think he will. Right? I don't think Vegas is saying he's the 5th favorite to win the NFL MVP award if that's not the case. But I still need to see it. And I am a believer, and I do believe he's the franchise quarterback of the future. But I said earlier, can I guarantee Jordan Love's the quarterback in 10 years? Absolutely not. I can probably guarantee he's the quarterback in 3 or 4 years. 3 years. But you need to keep stacking success. And success is not always linear. It's not always up. Right? We see it all the time with second-year players. I'm a big believer in either a sophomore jump or a sophomore slump. I don't often think there's sophomore neutral. I think for Quay Walker, it was pretty sophomore neutral. But I think there was a sophomore jump of sorts for a guy like Devontae Wyatt. He was just on the field more. I think Lucas Van Ness is a great example of this upcoming season of a sophomore jump. I think Dontavian Wicks could be capable of a sophomore jump. I just think that is very normal in the NFL, where your second year, you're either proving you can do it or, maybe you're not as good as we thought you could be. And in a weird way, it's kind of a sophomore year for Jordan Love, at least in terms of a starter. So, can he make the sophomore jump? Can he jump into the MVP conversation? Can the Packers win the NFC North on the back of Jordan Love? That's still all stuff we have to find out in the 2024 season. But I think, to be clear, the Packers should be viewed as a playoff team, if not a divisional winner. But Detroit is still very good. So time will tell, but it all starts with the draft next week, which I'm very excited about. All right, I saw this morning, and
well,
go ahead.
I went down the rabbit hole, by the way.
Oh, I forgot about the rabbit hole of Zion Williamson's baby mama.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got? Give us your report.
So it looks like back in the summer, Zion's girlfriend announced that they were expecting a child together. To which then a OnlyFans model
Correct.
or whatever she does, I don't know how you describe that, said that they were also in a relationship and she was part of the reason why he lost so much weight because she was working him out. And then an Instagram model, so a third woman, also claimed that Zion was flying her to New Orleans to sit courtside at games, and they were seeing each other.
My goodness.
The baby mama is also accused of being a part of like a credit card scam.
Oh, fun.
Scheme. And then that's all the further I got.
So the baby mama you just referenced with the
Yes.
credit card scheme
Yes.
being accused of that, she is the one that's tweeting?
No.
This is a different one.
I believe this is the OnlyFans
Whoa. Okay.
woman that is
Wait,
posting
so
videos
who did we
making
start
fun
with?
of it.
Because the OnlyFans one I thought was the one that we were talking about. Is that not who we were talking about?
I'm not sure. There's 3 women, Strouf, and I only had like 5 minutes to prepare. That's all the further I got. I'm going to have to give you an update in like a week. I'm going to have to get a whiteboard with like the string to put it all together.
Yeah, we could do the
beef breakdown.
Yeah, beef breakdown / the Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in
Yes.
Philadelphia meme where he's just like mad scientist-esque. Yeah, I'd be happy to dive down that rabbit hole. But while we were while we've been chatting here, Hunter, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reporting that it is a left hamstring for Zion and he will miss Friday's play-in elimination game against the Sacramento Kings. 40 points, 11 rebounds last night for Zion. He will not play Friday. Woof. Not ideal. Winner of that game against my second favorite team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder up, Loud City. Shout out. All right. Let's do this. We've done this a few times on the show where we tier things. We go to the Tiermaker website, tiermaker.com if you're interested, and we tier things. Now, I want you, before we get to that, Hunter, this is what caught my eye this morning. It was a FanDuel graphic, which I know is clickbait, but sometimes I get got. Sometimes I get got. And on this one, I got. Because if you look at what you see on the screen, and if you're listening on the audio side, it is FanDuel's way too early NFC wide receiver 1 power rankings. Now, we can always have a conversation of who the Packers wide receiver 1 is. I think there's a debate to be made for 4 different guys. I think the nice part of the Packers offense and what we saw at the end of last season is, well, they don't really have a true number 1. Right? There's no more Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson for the Green Bay Packers. That just doesn't really exist anymore. One of the secrets to the success or secret sauces of the Packers offense is they have multiple guys that can kind of play that number 1 role. So Hunter, if you could pop that back up just one more time. Christian Watson on this rankings list is listed as number 1. But in the way too early NFC WR1 power rankings, he is dead last, 16th. Ahead of him, Deontay Johnson of the Panthers, 15. Drake London of the Falcons, 14. Terry McLaurin, which is crazy to me, is number 13 for Washington. Malik Neighbors, who hasn't even been drafted yet, allegedly to the Giants on this list, is number 12. Chris Olave from the Saints is 11. DK Metcalf from the Seahawks, 10. The Bears, DJ Moore is 9th. The top 8, Marvin Harrison Jr., apparently a Cardinal on this ranking, is number 8. Mike Evans, number 7. Brandon Ayuk at the Niners, 6. Puka Nacua over Cooper Kupp, which I find interesting, is number 5 for the Rams. 4th, Amon-Ra St. Brown. A.J. Brown of the Eagles is 3rd. CeeDee Lamb 2nd. And Justin Jefferson, this is correct, is number 2 in the NFC. So Christian Watson listed as 16th of all NFC number 1 receivers. I mean, I don't really have a huge issue with it. It's just I don't know that I view Christian Watson as the top receiver. When he's on the field and healthy, I think you see a dynamic difference for the Packers offense and the way he opens things up downfield. I think you saw that late in the season last year due to his ability. What are you smiling at over there? Everything okay?
Luke Fickell put out the bat signal.
Okay.
And a player that I got to call at the state tournament for boys basketball from Neenah, Grant Dean. Committing to
position.
I didn't get that far into the tweet, and I was just like, "Oh, okay." Running back safety.
Way to make it about you, pal.
Grinch. I smiled. You called me out, and I gave you all the information I had. It wasn't all about me.
But in your head, you were going, "Oh yeah, I remember that name. I did it in state basketball."
Yeah, and I was taking you on the journey with me. Okay, so he's listed as a running back and a safety. As I'm looking at the tweet, literally now, I do see that Alex Grinch is tagged in it, so I would assume he's going to be playing safety.
There you go.
Okay,
Coach
if you would have let me finish the sentence, I would have done that. Instead, we had to take 2 minutes. So I'm just going to put up the ranking, and you just start going.
Just a real quick side note: it's an in-state recruit. All of you doubters can be happy. All right, so we've got the 6 Packers receivers here, and I'm going to rank them in 3 tiers: star, good, or meh/TBD. So first we have Bo Melton, and I like what Bo Melton did against the Vikings, but he's probably more a TBD than a meh. I just don't know that he's really got superstar potential for the Green Bay Packers. Next is Romeo Doubs. I'm not ready to call him a star, although I think he can be consistent. I think he can bridge the gap, and I think he can kind of be like a James Jones-esque guy. Reliable hands, good receiver. I think he can be a very good number 3 for the Packers for a long time. I think he can be a long-term Packer. I like Romeo Doubs a lot. I just don't know that I can call him a star. Next up is Malik Heath. Why'd you put him in here?
I literally just went with like the 6 guys who
were
around last year.
3 are really the most fun conversation, right? Because I think Romeo Doubs is the number 3. Next up is Jaden Reed. I don't think he can be put him in the wrong category. I think he can be a star. I just think he can be a star in a very different way than either Christian Watson or Dontavian Wicks can be a star. I'm putting Watson in good, and then I'll put Wicks in star. But the issue with both of them is I just don't know if they can both stay healthy, right? And Christian Watson has dealt with injuries. He dealt with them in college. He's dealt with them his first 2 years with the Packers. When he's on the field, the team is better. Dontavian Wicks is the best pure route runner on this team. I think he has the flashiest star ability. I'm most excited about him of any of these 6 guys. So I'm very excited with the ability of Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, just in different ways. So I would go Wicks and Reed, star potential. Watson and Doubs, good potential. Meh/TBD for Bo Melton and Malik Heath. How'd I do? Would you agree with that overall? Like that would be my 2. If I had to put 2, and that's the way I play these games, I try to make them even. If I had to put 2 in each, that would be the way I'd rank those.
Yeah, I want to have faith in Christian Watson being healthy. Like I don't want to. I
do too.
I hate seeing guys who like they struggle to stay on the field because it's always then the what if. So if he has a full season with what he can do to a defense, I would put him as being able to be that star and that number 1 guy. And then him and Jaden Reed, like those 2, like it just makes the offense so ridiculous because there's nowhere on the field that you can just be like, oh yeah, they're never going to go over there.
Hunter, I've told you I'm talked myself into the Packers going O-line in round 1. I'm starting to talk myself into like a maybe early day 3 wide receiver. And I don't know who. I don't have a name for you. But I wouldn't be shocked if Goody drafts a receiver this year, like 4th round.
I honestly almost think he may go second or third round if there's a guy that they may like.
I think you might be right.
I almost
don't know
think
where
they
he fits
need
in, though.
But I feel like they almost need just like a big body, kind of red zone threat sort of guy. And I understand that they've got two really good tight ends who also fit into that role.
The thing is, though,
but you need somebody that's got the speed of a wide receiver and the size to do that.
Yeah, it's fair. But the thing is with Goody is his wide receiver track record in the draft has not been phenomenal. Right? The four guys we have in the top two tiers here have been good, right? Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. Those seem like those will be hits. But you think back to 2018, Goody's first draft, that was Jamon Moore and Equinemius St. Brown was in there, I believe, that same draft class. Like, that was a tricky one. He drafted Amari Rodgers in the third round in 2021. That obviously didn't work out very well. As I mentioned, Christian Watson kind of more of a TBD than a definite hit, where I think Romeo Doubs, a fourth-round pick, I view that as a hit. But the wide receiver position has not been Goody's bread and butter in the draft. So I'm intrigued to see how it works out if he was to take one this year. I would be okay with the idea of it, even day two. I think there's other needs that need to be addressed day two, but you have 2 second-round picks as it stands right now. You have that pick from the Jets and from the Aaron Rodgers trade, and then you have your obviously your own second-round pick, and then you have a third-round pick. You have 3 day two picks. If you go O-line day one, you should probably go safety day two. You should probably get a running back either day two or early day three. You need linebackers, and it seems like they're probably done addressing that in the free agency period. Seems like they're probably done. They signed a cornerback, which seems like more of a special teams play. I think his name's Jamon Green. Jamon with a G, by the way. Gemon Green.
Would not have guessed the G.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, but I would have called him Gamon Green. But in the Packers.com article that they wrote about him, they wrote his pronunciation out for me.
That's helpful.
It is helpful. Jamon Green. But it seems like that's probably more of a special teams play. But cornerback depth, is always good. So bring as much in for camp as you need, because it seems like Eric Stokes might not be a hit, a former first-round pick. Jair's, hopefully he can get back to great levels. You feel good about Carrington Valentine, but this goes back to what I was saying earlier about sophomore jump, sophomore slump. Get a really good rookie season. Can he be a star? Maybe. Does he have some Sam Shields in him? Maybe. But I don't know how much I love the idea of Carrington Valentine likely being your second-best corner. So that scares me a little bit. I still don't love the Rasul Douglas trade they made last year, but I guess that's over and done with. So there's several positions that need to be addressed in the draft, but you have 11 picks. If they used let's just say a round 4 pick on a wide receiver, I'm probably not mad about it. If they hadn't drafted a safety at that point, I might be a little worried. But I don't hate the idea of it.
Well, and I always feel like first round for the draft, you've got to be trying to get day one starter, a guy that's going to be with your team and a huge contributor for the next 7 years. 2 and 3, you're like, okay, start, contribute, be a good player for you. Once you get to that 4th round and under, like anything you're getting out of a lot of those guys, you're like, okay, this is awesome. So if you use a 4th round pick on a wide receiver, like whatever, even if they haven't fully addressed safety,
yeah,
because then I think it just says, okay, they're going to try and make one more trade. They're going to try and make some other move to fill that spot because they just don't like what they have available and they'd rather see what they can get out of a wide receiver. So I'd be fine with them deciding like, okay, yeah, we're going to go with a wide receiver, and they might go multiple wide receivers even.
And I just want to point out a really good point by Dennis on the YouTube chat. He pointed out that the Packers held a top 30 visit with Jermaine Burton, a wide receiver out of Alabama. I'm not really sure what his draft status is in terms of where he's supposed to be drafted. I know he's not a round 1 guy, but according to NFL.com, some of his testing really solid. 4.45, so not the quickest, but definitely not slow by any means. 6 foot flat, so not super tall, but like could be a mid-round flyer. I like the idea of it. So we will see. Just a week away from the draft. I can't wait, man. I'm really fired up for it. And speaking of the draft, you learn something new every day. I learned something new today. It's time to wrap up the show as we always do with what Strouf Learned, and it's this, man. It just came through. So ESPN, they do a ton of sidecasts around NFL stuff now, right? Like the Manning cast during the NFL season. They do the Pat McAfee stuff during the bowl games and the college football playoffs. McAfee is going to do another sidecast for the draft. And maybe the biggest unemployed name in all of football is going to be a part of the draft coverage. And that is former Patriots head coach and general manager Bill Belichick will join McAfee and the boys for NFL draft coverage throughout next weekend. And look, Bill Belichick is the last of a dying breed that is both the general manager and the head coach. And he won, 8 Super Bowls total, 7 Super Bowls total, but 6 as a head coach. He is phenomenal. He is a really weird dude when you listen to him speak. His press conferences always sucked. But to not have a direct tie anymore, and I mean, he probably still has some communication with maybe like Robert Kraft in New England, but it's not like Elliot Wolf and him are probably the best of friends. Elliot Wolf, of course, now I think in charge of the draft at least. I don't know if he's actually the general manager. I don't know what his exact title is with the Patriots, but he'll be leading the draft room for the Pats. I think his insight is going to be phenomenal and super, super fun to listen to. I love draft coverage, especially when you have guys like that on it, but there's nobody like Bill Belichick. There's nobody as good and long-tenured and a double duty like Bill Belichick. So him on draft coverage is actually like must-watch television in my eyes, which I'm very excited to see.
Well, like, I feel like he would have been good if they just put him on the standard desk with, I think, Greeny's doing it for ESPN and leading the coverage. Like, he would have been fine at that.
Hey, keep your point going.
Well, he's out of coaching mode, so he's a lot better when he's doing that kind of stuff. Nick Saban's the same way if he ends up kind of replacing Lee Corso on College Game Day. But him with McAfee and the boys is going to be just ridiculous.
Ridiculous in the best
way,
He's going
to say something incredibly wild, and I'm all here for it because then it's going to be all over TikTok, and I love it.
I have been given the green light, by the way. I was going to say, you know how I called you for making it all about you earlier? I'm going to make it all about me for a moment. But next Thursday, first round of the NFL draft, I have the opportunity to anchor ESPN Wisconsin's coverage of night one of the NFL draft. I'll be joined by a ton of people throughout. Ben Bruss, Mark Chmura. Homer's going to join me for a majority of it. Steve the Homer True, he'll join me from 7 to 10 p.m. Jason Wilde, Rob Domofsky, Brian Bulaga, Gary Ellerson, all going to join us throughout the night. It's going to be a heck of a night. We'll be live at the Q Club of Wisconsin in Waukesha. And we'll be live on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channels. We'll be live on the radio side, 620 WTMJ, 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, 100.5 ESPN Madison, both the stations behind me, as well as, I believe, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam as well. So really looking forward to that opportunity to be with you statewide. For night one of the NFL draft, I'll be joined by a ton of people, a hell of a lot smarter than me, as we get up to pick 25 and see who the Packers select. So if you're looking for more local coverage than maybe the national coverage, Hunter is going to be producing our video stream. And he did it last year for our ESPN Madison only coverage when we did a draft night special. So Hunter is still going to be a part of our coverage. He's going to be producing the video side. He obviously does I would say a decent job with this show's video element. But he's going to be running our video coverage as well for the NFL draft. So if you're looking for some more local Packer-centric coverage for next week's Thursday night of the NFL draft, and I believe we'll be doing some stuff for Friday and Saturday as well. But I know for sure Thursday night we're gonna bring it best-in-class, Packer-centric NFL draft coverage of night one. So hope you can hang out with us for that because it is going to be an absolute blast from the Q Club in Wisconsin, and you can pull up YouTube on your TV. We were looking through analytics, like 45% of our audience, Hunter, on Mr. Irrelevant in 2024 has watched this on TV. So people know how to do it. You can continue to do that next week with some more Packer-centric draft coverage. So really looking forward to being a part of that as well. 8 days from today. All right, that does it for us today. We're back with you Friday. Colin Russo will join me. We'll have a show announcement as well on Friday. Bum, bum, bum. So we'll do that Friday as well, and we'll have a blast leading into the weekend to kick off the tip-off, I guess, rather, the NBA playoffs. Hopefully we'll have some more knowledge on Giannis as the Bucks and Pacers get ready to tip off on Sunday. We'll do it all on Friday. Appreciate Joshie DiMaggio, Hunter Vaughn, Elgton Jenkins for joining us, and everybody that watched along with us today on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you missed any of the show, you can find the audio-only edition wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also always watch the show back, the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channels. All right, we'll talk to you Friday. I'm Alex Strouf. It's Mr. Relevant. Peace.